Welcome to chapter 6 of the book of Job. So much of this chapter, as I've seen, refers to a future event that we'll see here as we go through the chapter. And Job laments his affliction, and I'll read a bit in the Greek, and then we'll go into the chapter. Ipolavon the Iob legi, igartis iston stise mu tin orgin tas deodinas mu ari in zigo omothimadon ke the amon paralias varitera este epituto rimata mu katapatisthison. And undertaking, Job says, "For if anyone stationing wait would set my wrath and lift my griefs in a yoke balance scale, they would be in one accord." So he's two things, wrath, now our anger, now my wrath, angering at his more of the situation maybe he's talking about, and the other side would be grief over his situation. He's grieving over it and angry because of it. The yoke balance scale, the weighing it, those are the scales that were like this, and it would be the same here, and they had a fulcrum and so forth. "For indeed, of the sand of the coast, it will be heavier, the wrath and the anger. Upon this my sayings were trampled." And so now exactly what sayings, this is kind of the beginning that he's talking, replying to Eliphaz, "For arrows of the worthy one are in my body." So maybe something to do with God trampling, and this my sayings were trampled to God. Maybe he's talking about that he didn't listen. "For arrows of the worthy one," that's be God, "are in my body, which their rage drinks up my blood," the arrows. "Whenever I should begin to speak, they sting me. For what? Will the wild donkey cry out ineffectually if he's not seeking grain?" Even animals cry out. So what is it that I'm crying out? And if he is not seeking grain, and shall then the voice of the ox tear loose at the stable while having foods? No, if everything is going his way, then he doesn't make a noise. So sort of where he's saying what man is like, this is what he's like, making a noise when things are not going good. If everything was going good, he'd be like the ox with food, just no problem. But isn't this the way it is with humans? We can bless God, but then when problems come along, we seem to get way more excited over the problems than we do being excited over thanking God for all the things that he has done for us, all the years and days that we are in health and so forth. And is there taste in empty words? No. "For my too soul is not able to cease. For groaning I see my grain as the scent of a lion." He sees the things that are going on as a lion would see food. "For if only he might give me, he might give, and my requests might come." So he's kind of thinking that maybe the Lord's not listening, and that the Lord might grant my hope. He doesn't know he's going through a test, that God is allowing this to happen. And so maybe he's thinking, well, God isn't really listening to the things I'm saying. Beginning, "Let the Lord pierce, but let me not be done away with unto the end. Now I see in this verse Jesus, the pierce, because it says in John 19:34, but one of the soldiers with a lance pierced his side, and immediately came forth blood and water. Beginning, let the Lord pierce. And then, but let me not be done away with unto the end. And with Jesus, he wasn't done away with unto the end. He was resurrected. Then verse 10, but may my city be the grave upon which I leaped upon the walls, upon which I leaped upon the walls. Upon it I shall not spare, for I lied not about the holy sayings of my God. May I die where I'm at, and right where I've been living, and this is standing on what I'm saying. Basically, I spared not. I didn't lie about it or anything. This is truth, everything I'm saying. I'm not making something up to you friends. For what is my strength that I remain, or what is my time, chronos, that my soul endures? Well, here we see, we know that God determines our span of life, and that's what he's saying. What is my strength, or what is my time that my soul endures? Is my strength the strength of stones and so forth? Well, the time, chronos, right here, is our time. And I've mentioned before where I believe time is gamma to theta equals chi. And those are three Greek letters. And gamma for Genesis, to thanatos, the theta, is death, equals chronos, equals time. That's sort of what he's saying right here. Our time, chronos, is a certain period. Is my strength the strength of stones, or are my members are my flesh members of brass? Are not upon him to yield, but help was departed from me. And Jesus said on the cross in Mark 15:34, my God, for why did you abandon me? And we can also see when we're going through the test, did God abandon me? We don't see the test so many times. We look at the good times in our life, everything so much, and we just expect that to continue all the time. And if something bad happens, well, what did I do wrong? Does he not like me anymore? And no, God still loves us, but he's letting us go through the test, as I mentioned in the last chapter. Mercy is forbidden me, and the visit of the Lord overlooked me. That's what he feels like, just as Jesus on the cross. My brothers look not at me. And we see in John 7:5, for neither his brothers believed in him. So this is all, very first book of the Bible relating to the things of a man who's going to come thousands of years later, Jesus Christ. I took out these numbers because I think it reads okay without them. As if a rushing stream dissipating, comma, or as if a wave, they went by me. All this, the people that ignored him, all the things that's going on, and they're bad. The ones who revered me now fall upon me as if snow or ice banked up. Now we know that his wife kind of said, well, how long are you going to put up with this? Why don't you just die? And apparently his brothers were not too sympathetic. And so the ones who revered me now fall upon me as if snow or ice banked up. And we see in Luke 22:57, Peter's denial. It says, but he denied him, saying, O woman, I do not know him. And then verse 17 in Job, and as the melting away by the coming of heat, it was not recognized of where it was. The snow and ice banked up. the ones who revered me, it's all gone away, melted away. So I also was left by all. But I am destroyed, and I became homeless. And we see in Matthew 26:56, it says, then all the disciples, leaving him, fled. So Jesus, I see that. So I also was left by all. But I am destroyed, and I became homeless. Which Jesus did in a way after the resurrection. The resurrection. Behold, the ways of the Temanites, which Eliphaz was over in Edom, one seeing clearly the shortcuts of the Sabaeans, and I think he's talking about the people from down in Saba, which is Yemen today at the tip of Saudi Arabia, who were merchants who went throughout that world, Eastern Mediterranean, and traded, and they would maybe go through the land of Edom and taking shortcuts. And the ones in cities shall owe for shame, and the things relied upon there. So basically, the things that are happening, and he doesn't have a whole lot of control over it. You see these people going through your land, and things that we have, nothing about we can do about it. But nevertheless, even you mounted against me mercilessly. And we see in Matthew 15:29, it says, and the ones coming near blasphemed him, shaking their heads at the crucifixion. They mounted against him mercilessly, so that beholding my womb, you should be fearful. And then the women also were there. It says in Mark 15:40, and there were also women from far off viewing, and then beholding my wound, Acts 24:40, the disciples. And this having said, he displayed to them his hands and his feet, so that beholding my wound, you should be fearful. For what? Did I ask anything of you? Do I want strength from you? Well, Jesus didn't need man. He knew what was inside man, it says. And do I need you so as to deliver me from out of enemies, or to rescue me from out of the hand of mighty ones? Teach me, and I will be silent. And Jesus didn't sin. If in anything I have wandered, expound it to me. Jesus didn't sin. How could anybody explain it? He kept telling them, and he was sinless, and he had the power of forgiveness, but they couldn't understand it. And teach me, and I will be silent. If in anything I have wandered, expound to me. But they kept at him, didn't give up, finding fault. And then it says, but as it seems, the words of a true man are vile. And we see in Mark 14:64, then the chief priest, having torn his inner garment, says, what yet need do we have of witnesses? You heard the blasphemy. What does it appear to you? And they all condemned him to be liable of death. Vile men, for I do not ask strength from you, nor will your reproof cause me to cease my words, even if you reprove me, for neither your utterance of a word will I endure. I don't want to hear it anymore. Besides that, you fall upon an orphan, and you assail against your friend. But now, having looked into your faces, I will not lie. Sit indeed, and may there not be anything unjust, and again come together with the just one. And Jesus says in Acts 1:13, and when they entered, they ascended unto the upper room of which they were staying. And so the sit indeed, and may there not be anything unjust. And it ends in verse 30, for there is not an unjust thing on my tongue. Or does not my throat meditate on understanding? God acknowledges this, what he's saying here. He wasn't unjust, but they came against him, and their understanding of the things of Job were wrong, even though they may have said a lot of correct things. Chapter 7, Job questions God of man's existence. And that's going to be interesting to find out what God says in answer to Job's question. I hope you'll join us in chapter 7. And until then, God bless.